Okay, so this is, last time we discussed reflected ceiling plan, and there's a recording on that if you forgot everything. It's in the discussion, and I will put this recording in the discussion section as well with today's date. So for a site plan, if you have your textbook, first of all, look at page 116 in the textbook. It's under civil site plan, but it has a lot of the stuff architects need too.
Do you have an extra book? What page?
116. Mm-hmm. So it just, you should read this word for word where it starts off site plan, but then if you flip to the next page, 118, you can see a site plan of this looks like a residence, and you see how they've drawn the different lines and stuff. So I don't see that the property line is drawn how I would draw it, so I'll show you a different way. But the property line is the outermost line of that triangular box-shaped thing. And then you can see there's a dash line that's 5 foot in. That's a utility easement. Then there's another dash line that's about, it looks like 8 foot. That's a building line. You'll have to draw these things, and I will show you in a second. But this, you can refer to this. Then you also got your site, those numbers, like at the top, it says S53, that's south 53 degrees, 28 minutes, 0 seconds east, and the length of that line is 115.83 feet. Civil or site plans are always done, unlike the rest of your architecture drawings, they're usually done with using decimals instead of feet and inches. I mean, it depends on the scale, but your scale will be very large, so you will probably have decimals. And then you can see the building. They've just shaded it in, and that's how I've asked you to do it on yours. We'll show you that in a second. So they've got all the setback lines. They've got the building shaded in. They've got pavement. In this case, it's a driveway and a sidewalk. And they've shown dimensions to the edges of the building. And that's one way to do it. There's other ways to do it. There's another site plan over here on the next page. And you can see that on page 119, site where it says drawing scale, the site plan should be drawn to the most appropriate scale. For example, 1 inch equals 10 feet or 1 inch equals 20 feet. 1/4 inch will be way too big. Your buildings, I mean, most of you had to put your buildings at what, 3/32 or something? So you're probably going to be 1 inch equals 20 feet. I'd start with that and see if it fits on where you're going to put it. You may even have to go smaller than that. That's what I'd start with and see, because you're going to make up your site. So, you know, it has to fit on the paper that you're drawing it on. So, and you can change the scale. Once you get your site made up, and before you put any notes or anything on that, because remember text and dimensions, that gets all screwed up when you change the scale. So before you do any of that, then try to place your site plan on the paper, the sheet, and see if it fits at that scale in case you have to change it. I'll show you that in a minute too. But on the next page, you know, it just goes through a list of everything that, you know, is generally on a site plan. So I just wanted you to reference that when you're doing it. Now, back to my drawing here. I don't know why this blue thing's always there. That's like the center of the world for Revit. I always hide it. So I'm just going to right-click and hide that because I don't like it. So I'm looking now at our assignment sheet. It says architectural site plan. It's going to be sheet C100. So, you know, you're going to make a sheet down in your sheet section. I'll just show you real quick, you know, review how to do that. New sheet. It's going to be on our, is it D22 by 34. And then I'm going to go down here. I'm right-clicking, highlighting that. Right-click, rename. So the number is 1.00, oops, C 1.00. Why is it not capitalizing? Capitalize C 1.00. And the name is Architectural Site Plan. So you hit OK. Now all that over here is populated. Woohoo! Okay. And you got your new sheet. So when you're ready to see if it's going to fit on there, you can slide it onto there. So I've done that. Now I'm going to go back to my site plan. And however, I don't know if you've realized this, but however these are named over here, that's how they're going to be named when you drag them on there. So I want this to say site plan, so I'm going to change that name right now. I'm going to call it site plan. Oops. Okay, now I'm going to go back to that, and here's mine. Of course, mine is much smaller than yours. Then it says property. Well, first you have to think up a site. You know, I didn't give you a site to work from, and so you just kind of have to make it up. But if you're looking at your assignment sheet, it says you're going to be 100 feet from the front of their property and 30 feet from the sides. So you know that your site has to be 100 feet from the front and 30 feet from the sides. And you may want to have it bigger than that. So if I'm going to do, my building is going to be 100 feet from the front, first thing I'm going to do is, actually I think I'm just going to, go over here to massing and site, right there. And I'm going to say property line over here. Hold on one second. Okay, sorry about that. Now I'm back on. So I hit property line up here. There's two ways you can do it. You can create by entering distances and bearings. So if you had a given property, which you don't, you could enter these distances and bearings, and it would automatically populate it. But we're not that advanced here, so we're just going to sketch it. And so it goes into your sketch mode, and I just want a plain old rectangle. You can make a cattywampus site if you want, but I'm just going to make a plain old rectangle. And then I want to make sure that my front, see, it's only 39 feet, so I need to change that to 100 feet from the front. So it's going to go way down there. And then I want to make sure my sides are at least 30 feet. And you can make them more. They just can't be any less than that. This side is going to be 30 feet. You may have to make it more with parking. And it doesn't give you a rear setback. But I would just, you need to have plenty of room. It shouldn't be any more than less than the 30 feet. Because that's probably where, I may have to increase this. But so you make your site, drawing these pink lines however you want to do it, just making sure that you have these setbacks. Once you get that shape like you like it, you hit your check mark. And now it automatically makes these are the property lines. That's the symbol for property lines. Then, to make your setback lines, that is a drafting line. It's not a real line. So you go to architecture, annotate up here. Then detail line, that's what we want. And I usually do my setback lines as hidden lines. And the front one is going to be 100 feet. The setback meaning that you can't build over that line. So the easy way to do that is I'm going to make a line that's selected. I'm going to offset it 100 feet right there. Then I go here at this line and see it's making that setback line up there. If it was doing it on the wrong side, I'll show you. You just hit space bar and it'll pop to the other side, but I want it on that side. So then you go to there. Now the other thing, these are green. I don't know why they make them green because you print in black and white. So we're going to change that. You hit it, right click, override graphics by category because I want them all to be black. And then I'm just going to change it to black. Apply. Okay. So I fixed that. Now I need to do my side setback, so I'm going to do another detail line, and the sides are 30 feet. So I'm going to make my offset 30 feet. I'm going to start here. Oh, now that one's green again. Why didn't that work? Oh, it did work. Okay. Then hit escape, and I'm going to start over here, go down here. Now, in reality, the setbacks don't go all the way to here, so I can trim this in a second. And there probably really is a rear setback, so I'm going to go ahead and make that up. And you can make yours up, but usually it's, you know, around 10 feet because there's some utilities back there. So I hit that. So now there's my building setback lines, and I can trim those with this trim right here. So I'm going to you hit the side you want to save all the way around. Now I got my finished face of the walls, or what? Yes, it went to the finished face of the walls. Okay. Your roof can usually overhang. So now I've got my setbacks on there. General notes and site plan notes, you know how to do that from before. I'm not going to go over that. Hardscapes, curb, gutter, and roadways. Now there's two ways to do this, and I think I mean, if you were really 3D modeling this, which your building is a 3D model, but you can create a topography. Do you want me to show you that with different finishes like asphalt, or do you want just to do it in detail lines? Any opinion? I mean, in the real world, you'll probably eventually have to learn it, but you're just babies now, so. Show you? Okay. It's not, I mean, I don't think it's that hard, but. Okay, so what I do, and I don't do it necessarily the total right way either, but if you're going to make topography, and since everything in Corpus is flat, it's usually pretty easy. So you go back up here to massing and site. I'm going to make a topo service. Don't let that scare you because it's just going to be flat. So you place a point, and here's your elevation. So I just keep them all. Well, actually, if my building is at 0, I may want my ground to be 6 inches below that. So I'll say minus 6 inches. That way it's, you know, your first floor is at 0, which is, I think, what y'all have. So see this, there's a little point on there. So I just somewhere out of the view, because I can trim the view later, I'm going to put these points, and you have to have, you know, 4 or so. And now I've got, and I can finish it, and now I've got a flat piece of ground to work on. So within this surface, then you're going to start thinking about where you want your hardscapes. I'm looking at the site plan assignment. Hardscapes meaning anything with concrete. Sidewalks, curbs, gutters, and roadways. And I suggest you kind of sketch this out first before you try to just figure it out on here. But right now, this whole site, if you highlight it right there, topography, and you can, over here in the material, you can just change, make sure it's earth or grass, whatever you want it to be. Yeah. Let's see if we have. Does it not have, they don't have materials here? This is different than what I've done before. Glass, wood, unassigned unit. Maybe it's not loaded. Well, let's see. Did you see grass anywhere? Glass, earth. I guess we'll just do earth. This is my program doesn't have this kind of setup, the one I usually work on. So we'll just keep it earth. So it'll be brown. You won't have pretty green grass. But that's okay. The point is, now that this is all earth, if you were to, let me show you what happens. If you cut a section, which you've already done, most of you, see, now the earth shows. Isn't that cool? It has a little earth because you have property. Okay, back to the other one. Let me delete that.
Where did you get that material browser from?
I hit this, and over here it says material, and then I chose earth. Now you want to make your, evidently you're gonna have a street out here, so you can make subregions in this earth. So this is where you would make a subregion. Then you would say, this time you're going to do asphalt or concrete, because this is going to be your sidewalk and stuff. We'll do cast in place concrete. So now you're going to sort of, same way you've done before, you're going to sketch, your street's going to be out here, probably, not necessarily on the property, and then you're going to have a driveway going in there. So what you're doing now is this is why you probably want to hand sketch or work on this first. Then you have a parking lot in the front. You're going to have a driveway. I find it easier to draw this and then dimension it. And then you might have a sidewalk into the building. So just make a sidewalk. Now, I'll see if my dimensions are correct. That's a 20-foot, probably want a 25-foot wide drive. And this is where you can look in the graphic standards, which is up here by my desk, for driveway widths, parking stalls, stuff like that. You need to look that kind of information up to make sure you have, because you have to have room for a car going in and a car going out. So I've made that 25 feet. Let me just see how wide this is. You want to look at parking lot layouts and see how wide this needs to be, because on this piece of paper, you probably should do these calculations first. It says you'll need 1 parking space for every 200 square feet of building. So depending on the size of your building, if you had a 100 square foot building, if you had a 1,000 square foot building, you would need 5 parking spaces, right? If you have 5,000, you'll probably need 25. Out of those, you need, and this is all written on your assignment sheet, you'll need 1 ADA space for every 25 parking spaces. So first you need to know how many parking spaces you have. Then you need to figure out the ADA spaces. Turn-in radius is 15 feet. That's talking about from the street. Median and curb radius is 2 feet. Parking spaces are 9 by 18 and must contain wheel stops. So turn-in radius is going to be out here. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to break this. I'm going to modify there. And I'm going to split this line here so it becomes 2 lines. I hit this up here, split, and then I came down here. Now I'm going to trim this to there and that to there. And now I'm going to make a fillet, or where is that? This one, a fillet. And it says the radius is 15 feet. So I'm going to check that up here, go 15 feet. Then you hit your 2 lines that you want to be filleted right there. See? It made an extra line there I'm going to delete. But okay. So now you got your 15 foot. So probably I'd want this one maybe to come in more. Wait a second. Let me undo this. I'd want this one probably to come in a little bit more. And then I will trim that up there and trim that to there. And it says curb radius are 2 feet. So if you have a median, you know what a median is? Like in a parking lot, sometimes there's a curb with trees in it. you know, like a little break in the parking lot. You understand what I'm saying? So if you had that, the radiuses would be 2 feet. So I'll just draw a quick one here. Again, y'all need to be careful with your, you know, you need to dimension all this out. I'm just trying to show you the steps involved, not necessarily, I'm not dimensioning it correctly. So this is going to be your median, and the inside is going to be earth. So that's going to have a 2-foot radius, the turns on that. So I change my radius to 2 feet. I go there to there. I hit that one. Oops. Sometimes it does nutty things. So I'm going to do that again. Clip radius. There's that one. Hold on. Radius. There. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, so that's what it's talking about on a 2-foot radius. And you can make these are outside, so you probably don't have to do them. But the other thing, remember whenever you're working with these pink lines, all of the lines, nothing can overlap, and it'll give you an error message if you're doing that. So it all has to be one enclosed space. So I need to break this one. I mean, technically there would be a step up here, but I don't think we need to worry about that at this stage. So I'm going to break this line right here. I use the split tool, and I split it. Now I'm going to trim it so that everything comes together. I'm going to come in here. I want these to align. And then I'm going to connect these two, but they probably need to be connected at the building, right? Because you don't want a piece of dirt between. My building ends there, so I hit trim, hit that and that, and that and that. So now that's my sidewalk in. There's my street. I don't think I have to enclose this down here. I think it'll just go that way. So let's check and see if we've done it correctly. Okay, what does it say? Lines must be closed loop. So I do. Okay. So don't ever do this or you'll lose everything you ever did. Do continue. So then I'm going to make from that to the end of that. You know, and this isn't the real street, of course, because I'm just trying to get it, what am I trying to say? You'll crop your view before that line. So lines must be closed loops, continue. So obviously this one up here doesn't, see how it's overlapping? They don't like that. So you got to hit trim. And there. Okay, now I'm going to try it. Okay, there. Now I have, this is all paving and this is all dirt. So now I've got my pavement and my sidewalks. Let's see. If you wanted there to be a curb on here, to tell you the truth, I've never done that. So what I would do if I was just making a site plan, remember sometimes you have to cheat. I would just draw a detail line and make a line that is 6 inches from the edge of your thing. So you can just go offset 6 inches. Oh, that's the other problem. Sometimes you can't click on these things. So it may just be better to make a detail lines all the way around. But you wanted to know, so I'm trying to tell you. So if you wanted a curb around all this, I'm just thinking out loud. Let's see. Property line. You could also well, the way I would do it is I would do detail line, then I would actually trace over all of these lines, and to do that, see, it doesn't let you grab these for some reason because it's part of the topography. But you would just draw a line 6 inches off of this. So if I was you, I wouldn't mess with the topography. I would just draw detail lines for all of this information. You might have to have, the reason you would have to have topography, like you might want to do this part because the other thing you need to do is your building pad, which I'll show you that in a second. But anyway, let's move on. So then once you figure out how many parking spaces you need, then it's very easy. You can just come up here, massing in sight, parking component. There's your parking space, 9 by 18, 90 degrees. They have 60-degree parking, 70-degree parking, and you can look in this graphic standards for parking. But we're just going to maybe do straight in parking, see if that works. That's the most efficient if you can work it that way. So you would put your parking thing here, and then you can just sort of drag it over and keep putting them in there, and it's drawing the little stripes. Of course, I didn't measure my parking lot out, so it's not going to be perfect. You're going to measure yours out and figure out exactly right. But that's a parking thing. It says you need an ADA space, which will most likely be right here. So we got parking component. You might have to load an ADA space. Let's see if they have them in here. Load family. Probably under site. Parking. So there's a curb. Okay, that's a ramp, like on a sidewalk. If you have to put that in somewhere. There's directional arrows. All this you can load and put in. There's an island already built for you with a curb. There's a double-sided island. All of this stuff you can load in there. Here's an ADA parking space. That's what I was looking for. And here's just a pavement stripe because you notice there's only one stripe on that, and you may have to add that stripe somewhere. There's a regular parking space. Let's load the ADA space. And I'm just gonna plop it in there so I can get it in there, and then I'm gonna change this one, delete those two. Then I'm gonna pull this up here. And that's, and you may wanna verify this, that it meets the code. I'm gonna, modify, align, save the project. See, it doesn't let me grab the topography. So that's when you have to do detail lines so that you can actually do something. But I'll just move it over. And then you might want to put that, either there'll be another spot here, like that, and then you'll put that individual stripe there. It says here that parking spaces must contain wheel stops. You know what? Those are the little bumper things. Did we see that in there? Let's see. Load family. Site. Parking. Curb. That's not it. I don't see wheel stop in there. Let's see if there's something in Autodesk. Nope. If someone can find, let's try curb. So there's curbs you can, well that's, some of these are just two-dimensional details. I don't think you put those in the drawings. That looks like dynamite. Let's see. You may just have to draw a wheel stop, and you know, wheel stop is about 6 inches. Here's your pavement stripe. I would think that would be a common thing in here, but I don't see it. Oh well, we're not going to worry about it right now. But you know, I guess if you couldn't find it, then what you would do is do an annotate, detail line, that, and just draw your little, oh, I did the wrong type of line. So I'm going to make it thin lines. Draws a rectangle. It's about, you know, 6 by 7. There's your wheel stop. Says you need a mechanical yard if not using rooftop AC units. So that should be somewhere in the back. And your mechanical yard will most likely be your brick wall, although your brick wall is an interior wall. So what you would do is go architecture, wall. Let's see what kind of walls we have. We have 4-inch brick, exterior brick, 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 brick. So you could do a 4-inch brick wall because it's basically going to be a double brick wall. Start with that. You could edit that. And you could just say duplicate. You always duplicate so you don't mess up the original. So we're going to change it to an 8-inch brick. That would be a double brick wall. Because a 4-inch brick wall wouldn't stand up. It'd be too skinny. Did it already say that was in use? I didn't see it. Did you? Let's see. That's generic. Brick, masonry 6. We'll just try that. We can do that. Generic 8-inch masonry wall. You can get fancy if you want to. Then back here in the back somewhere within your setback lines, you need to have your utility yard, which shouldn't be, it can be a part, like if there's no windows looking out here. I'm going to get rid of my roof for a second so I can see my walls. Like if your air conditioners were going to be in it, it might be an extension, you know, like in the corner here, but it won't have a roof on it because it has to have open air. So, you know, you need to figure out how big your air conditioner is, and if you're going to put dumpsters in there, how big those are. And again, you can look in this graphic standards, or you can Google it. You need to do research to find out how big this stuff is. And you'll make your utility yard, and of course there'll be a gate in there of some sort. So you want to draw that, find a gate and put it in there. Let's say fence gate. So, I mean, if you want to try to find something fancy, you can, or you can just do something like this, but you have to have a way to get in there. So I'm just going to load that. Open. I'm going to load it into the project. Of course, and I'm going to put it, okay, it says here roof plan, but actually I want it on the first floor, I think. None of the created elements are visible. So I got to figure out why it's not there. First floor plan. Well, there it is. Okay. Okay. This particular gate's not cutting the wall, so you'd probably have to make 2 walls. So you can trim it like that, and then line it up with your gate. Okay, so, but it's not showing in my site. Oh, there it is. That's my site plan, right? Okay. All right. So you have to have a mechanical yard that for your air conditioner. Dumpster pad with drive access. Okay, the dumpster, I guess, won't be in here because obviously the dumpster truck has to get it. So probably along the side here, you would extend your driveway and you'd have your dumpster back here somewhere so the dumpster truck can drive in and then, you know, make the concrete area part of your dumpster pad, put your dumpster on there, and then the dumpster truck can, so they have, but they have to have access to it. So there can't be parking spots in the way. Does everybody understand that? Okay. Then dimensions. So you need to locate the building on the site, the property lines, major roadways, parking lot items, and sidewalks. And then a fence. You can put a fence up too. Find a fence on Revit and put it in there. Or you can just draw a line for a fence. But one thing up at the top, it says a box that is shaded and indicated the building footprint or the overall roof. So you can either keep, remember I had my roof there. I'm going to unhide that. This light bulb shows you what's hidden. So you can keep it like that, or if you just want a shaded box, you can do that as well. You would just probably do that with detail lines. The other thing I was going to show you, let's see. Back on the first floor, have any of you made your building on a pad yet? Because that's basically the foundation. So you go, you have to be where you can see the wall, so that's why I went to the first floor. Massing in sight, building pad. That actually, what that does is makes your foundation and cuts a hole in that topography. So you can select the walls that are your outer walls. I'll show you what that does in a second. Once you've done that, then now you've got your building pad, and if you look at this section here, you can see the pad right there. It's highlighted. And of course, the foundation would be deeper, but what that does is when you look at it, it chops it through the earth, and it just gives it, you can add floors to that and stuff like that. So it makes it so you're not just have a dirt floor. Also on the elevation view, you can see that my first floor plan is at 0, and my topography was at -6, and now you can see my building pad, which looks like the foundation sticking up. So that's kind of a good thing to do. But the reason I wanted to show you that too was that you could use that if you want to make a building pad, then you could hide all this other stuff. Of course, it's a chore to hide it all, but hide all your everything down to the building pad. See, there's my building pad right there. And then that would be your building enclosure, which it says you can either do that or show the roof. Is there any questions on that? I mean, you'd have to just hide all this stuff. But I think it's probably easier to show the roof. So I'll do that. Okay, so it says dimensions. So on your property line, since you're making up your site, first of all, let's see if it fits on, this is at 1 inch equals 20 feet down there at the scale. So I'm going to go to my sheet and see if that's going to fit. Okay, so mine is small. Now yours are much bigger. So I'm going to leave mine like that. But I don't really want to see my crazy side edges, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to crop the view. Crop view, and I'll crop region visible. Okay. And then I'm going to bring that inside of where my topography was and my street so that it looks normal. Now I'm going to hide that square. So now that looks better. Oops. So you see how I did that? Then you don't see your rough edges. So that all fits. That looks good. Now you got to dimension it all. So back to your site plan. You would, your property line, since you made it up, I want you to, in the book, you can see how they're written, and I want you to write them that way because that is how it's written. On that page where I showed you, like, south 53 degrees, 28 feet east for 115.83 feet. So first you have to figure out how long that is, and you can either measure it like this. So that's 116 feet. So you'll have to put that into decimals. And then if you're just doing a straight rectangular site, what this means is, so for our sake, north is up, just because I don't want to rotate it. So if I'm starting from this point here, this line is going to go, from this point it's going to go south, basically 90 degrees. I think that's right. It would all just be zeros. But you can make something up, but then the length has to be correct. So it'd be, if you want to make some sort of thing up, then you could put the numbers in there, but I want it to look like site numbers. So you can say south 53 degrees, 28 minutes, 0 seconds east for 116, whatever the decimal is. And then you do the same thing over here with your, so that dimensions, what that does is establishes how big your site is. Then from that, you would dimension your setbacks. So, you know, I just do it with regular dimensions, like there to there. And you can do it, you know, on each side, identifying your setback. Now this one you may want to do, actually I'm going to start down here. I'm going to go to there, then to there, and then to there. So just, I take it back, I did that wrong. I want to do it like that. And then at the top, you know, there to there, to there, to there. So you want to try to keep it off the plan. And then you can write text here that says, you know, setback line. Wherever there's a setback line, you'd write that, and you'd put it over here too. You know how to rotate text? So you do setback line. This little circle here, you rotate it like that, and you put it outside that. So, and then you'll have your parking spot. You'll dimension everything on your site, and you'll need to dimension the edges of your building, and it's easier to do that if you temporarily hide the roof. So you can hit the eyeglasses and say hide element. So now you can see where your walls are. And I see that it didn't really do it like it was supposed to. So this should align with the edge of your wall. So make sure that yours does. I'm just going to do this. Just going to squeeze it in. Of course, you can't do that because your plans have certain dimensions. But let's see, align. Okay, so now if your building is on the setback line, then you don't necessarily have to dimension that edge. But if it's away from the setback line, then you need to dimension all 4 edges of the building, okay? You need to show your sidewalks and dimension them. You need to dimension this radius down here. I mean, you can look at the site plans and my example site plans to see how this is shown on drawings. For radius dimension, it would be right here. You just hit the circle, except since it's a topography, you have to, that's why you should just forget. See, it won't grab that circle, so you have to have a detail line there for it to grab, and it's a pain. I'm not sure why I don't know how to do that, but annotate, detail line. See, it doesn't let me pick it. So probably I'm going to go backwards. Before you do your topography, draw it with detail lines. And then if you want to make it topography, then you can click on the detail lines to make, if you want to make it a separate surface like asphalt, you click on that to do that. Or just leave it detail lines because it's not that necessary for this. So let me try something real quick. I'm going to edit that boundary. I'm going to select them all, and I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to do that. Now I'm going to come back in here, and I'm going to go to Modify, Paste, Aligned to Current View. There it is, and I'm going to make thin lines. So that worked. Cool. Okay. So now I can dimension it. So I'm going to go radius, and it tells me the dimension. And then you'll do that in here for these little circles too. That's probably enough for today. And I can help y'all individually if you get stuck. Is there any questions before I turn it off? Did you learn anything? Okay. So I've got the graphic standards up here. I'll put them over there on the middle because y'all will need to look up parking to make sure you have it done. And that'll be that. So stop.